right, today we're jumping into a really powerful spoken word piece that honestly just seems to capture the feeling of being in America right now. It gives us this incredible way to think about this moment, not with a bunch of stats or polls, but by looking at things through the big, sweeping lens of history. And this opening line, wow, it just hits you, right? It really captures a feeling I think a lot of us can relate to. The whole thing starts not with an argument, but just an observation. It acknowledges this collective anxiety that seems to be hanging in the air, and that's a really powerful way to begin. So that brings us to our first big idea here, what the piece calls restless days. We're going to dig into how it describes this feeling of a nation that's really standing at a crossroads. The piece talks about this moment where the American dream feels, hard to see. It's a time where people are left wondering what freedom even means anymore. And the point here isn't political, it's really emotional. It's about that shared experience of doubt and just struggling to see a clear, optimistic way forward. But the piece doesn't just leave us hanging in all that tension. It introduces this incredible metaphor for making sense of it all. And that brings us to section 2, the pendulum of history, which is really a framework for hope. So what exactly is the pendulum of history? Well, according to this piece, it's this idea that there's a reoccurring pattern. Instead of seeing our history as just one chaotic event after another, it suggests there's a rhythm to it, a constant swing from these moments of really deep crisis to periods of amazing progress and reform. And here you can really see the two sides of that pendulum swing. On one end, you have crisis. That's defined by all the noise, the doubt, the division, chaos. But on the other end, you have renewal. That's when we find a new center, when new leaders step up, and when freedom somehow finds a way to move forward. The key idea here is that one directly causes the other. The tension of the crisis is literally what creates the energy for renewal. And this, right here, is the crucial point. In this way of looking at things, chaos isn't the end of the story. It's what has to happen before renewal can begin. It's the pressure that builds up and forces that pendulum to swing back toward a resolution. Okay, but this isn't just some abstract theory, right? The piece actually grounds this idea in real history. And that brings us to section 3, from crisis to renewal, where we can see this pattern play out in the past. Just look at these examples. After the total devastation of the Civil War, what happened? A massive constitutional swing towards freedom. After the unrest and corruption of the Gilded Age, you get the huge reforms of Teddy Roosevelt. And then, after the trauma and violence of the 1960s, we got landmark civil rights legislation. It's like these deep crises force the country to take a hard look at itself, exposing flaws so big they just can't be ignored anymore, demanding a really powerful course correction. So seeing that historical pattern, it kind of gives you a little hope, right? But then the piece immediately pivots and asks a really tough question. Is that pattern still true today? And that takes us to section 4, a song gone off key, which is all about our present doubt. Man, what a powerful metaphor. The idea of liberty is supposed to be this beautiful song that we all know the words to. But the piece is suggesting that right now it just sounds dissonant. It's out of tune. It perfectly captures that feeling that something foundational, something really important, is just off. And all that dissonance, that feeling of things being off-key, it all leads to this one central, really challenging question. This is the question that kind of hangs over the entire piece. Is the core promise of this nation still real in these restless days? So, how do you even begin to answer a question that big? Well, the final section of the piece doesn't give us a prediction. It gives us a prescription. This is section 5, the choice, which lays out a proposed path forward. The piece basically frames our current moment as a fundamental choice between two paths. First, there's the path of fear. That's the one that leads to arguing in anger, fighting over lines in the sand, and building walls between us. But then there's the other path, the path of love. And it argues that this path is about remembering our shared humanity. It suggests that love is actually the key that can unlock the way forward and dissolve the very walls that fear creates. So after laying out the problem, the history, and the choice, the piece builds to its final conclusion. It strips away all the complexity to offer a single core principle as the only way forward. The only decree, the only rule that really matters in the face of so much noise. And that principle, the one thing that can push that pendulum back toward renewal, is to lead with love. And this is the final thought it leaves us with. And man, it is a powerful one. Freedom isn't some guarantee we inherited. It's not a trophy sitting on a shelf. It's an active choice. It's a promise that doesn't keep itself. It's one that every single generation has to consciously choose to make good on. And that is a profound reminder that the direction of that pendulum, well, it's not inevitable. It's up to us.